Another week and another brand new episode of the Granny Panty Podcast. I'm your host, RubyLynne. You are welcome to hit subscribe. I invite you to follow along with every new episode we release. And if you'd like to follow me, the host, you can always go to IamRubyLynne.com as well as thegrannypantypodcast.com. This week's episode is a little bit different. My 1 year anniversary for the Granny Panty podcast quietly came and went during November. And I really wanted to take this time and just do a reflection and a year in review. As a brand new podcaster, I maybe had a little YouTube experience in the past, but not much. I have learned so much, not only about being a podcast host, but also just about who my guests are, things I've learned from them, the good information we've put out to this industry. And I'm really proud of how this podcast has done. I'm excited about the future and the new guests that we'll have coming on. So, first, I want to start and say that in 2023, well, between November 22 and November 23, we released 38 episodes on this podcast. I think that's really amazing for a first year podcast. I started off at once a week, and then that was a little overwhelming as far as editing and also sometimes finding guests who are of the mature age. Over 40 is who I really target to have as a guest on this podcast. And sometimes, if you're really close, we'll do that. But each and every one of those 38 guests brought something to the show and to the industry, I think, sharing their experience, their knowledge, how they've evolved in this industry. And I just kind of want to go back and highlight every one of my guests. I also want to thank, especially my very early on guest, for taking that chance with me because I have been turned down for interviews. I've been turned down because of the podcast name, the Granny Panty, that makes it sound like someone's old grandma. I am a grandma, so I own it. I've been turned down because people want me to pay them to be on the podcast, of which I, unfortunately don't have a budget to do that. But that's okay. Those are the things that we learn from. So I want to start my very, very first guest in November of 2022 was Lainey Spicer, who happens to be my publicist and also a publicist to a lot of creators and not adult creators. She actually has some mainstream, more vanilla type clients. Lainey helped me work through all the bumbling and technical things that I didn't realize, using a podcast program like Zencaster. Didn't realize you had to wait a few minutes to get that video to upload from the guest side. And so I appreciate Lainey in so many ways, but especially for being my first guest. She was my test subject. My second guest was Sexy Vanessa. Oh my gosh. She is so amazing. She's alluring, seductive, but most of all, she's one of the nicest people I've ever had, the chance to meet through the screen. Really enjoyed having Vanessa on. Next up was Christy Canyon. How did I get so lucky to have such an iconic creator in this industry? Not only is she beautiful, fun, talented, I could just go on. And I loved hearing how this industry has evolved for her. And, I kind of heard recently she's gotten back into it. I heard she shot a couple scenes. I'm excited about that for her. Guest number 4 was Veronica Rose, a good friend of mine who is the poster child for MILF. If you want to look up MILF in the dictionary, you're going to find Veronica, a longtime cam model, has won too many awards to even list. I'm always like, hey, girl, let some of us have some of those awards. I loved interviewing her. It was so much fun and getting to know her a little bit better through the screen. Next up, oh my gosh, the Teatrix of Long Island herself, the Mad Harlot. What I learned from Penelope Proper, aka the Mad Harlot, is a lot of information about the stag vixen lifestyle a lot of information about swinging alternate, adult lifestyles. She brings so much to the table that I told her we're going to have a part 2 this year for sure. I had the pleasure of meeting her at Exotica 2021 and was just drawn to her, and we've remained friends throughout, and I was so happy to get to see her twice this year at Chicago and New Jersey. Definitely got to check her out. Next up was Jasmine St. Clair. Wow. What a gal. Rides a motorcycle or 2 or 3. She's a biker girl. She is deep involved in the wrestling arena, and I love watching her stuff. She also has an amazing podcast that she hosts, and she is just fun and sassy, and I had a good time getting to know her. I look forward to chatting with her more in 2024. She has a lot going on. My next guest for the year, number 8, was Jennifer Steele Mondello. And Jennifer wrote a book about her experience with Ron Jeremy and how that affected her. And that was, I would say, my heaviest at that point in time, that was a very heavy emotional podcast, I think, to go over that information, dissect her book, and how all of that affected her, how brave she was to come out with that information, and also how sad it was that no one listened to her when it was going on. And so I super enjoyed my conversations with Jennifer to just get an inside look at, maybe sometimes the darker side of the industry as it was. So that was very interesting. I appreciate Jennifer coming on and talking about that. Next up, Mr. Danglin' After Dark, Dick Dangle himself. He has one of the most amazing long-running podcasts. In fact, I want to share that he was my inspiration for starting a podcast. I really looked up to him not only as a friend and a co-star. It was so fun to actually be his first collab in the industry, which launched him into content creation. And I feel really honored that he trusted me to be his first. But I loved gaining knowledge from him about the podcast industry, just, what motivates him to keep going. And I know he is well over 500 episodes with his Danglin' After Dark podcast. So make sure you check that out. It's a really good one. I try not to miss an episode, and I've been so honored. I think I've been on his podcast 3 times now. Might be time to get him back on this one, I think. Next up was, oh my gosh, the energetic, spicy Spitfire, Coraline Jewel. I also met Coraline in 2021 at Exotica, and I just really liked her. She has such a great attitude. She seems always upbeat, even when life is trying to beat you down. She seems to always know that if this isn't working, there's another door opening for me. And I love that about her because she does not stop hustling. She has a lot of irons in the fire. She also has an amazing podcast. So definitely check out Embrace with Coraline Jewel. I always look forward to seeing her. She just makes me smile and giggle, and great guest. So check out her episode as well. Next up was D Siren, also an iconic creator in this industry. Someone I had knowledge of before I even got in this industry. She's done some great work, not only professionally, but in more recent years personally. And I love hearing about her transition, really, from one niche, in the adult industry, kind of extracting herself from that, and how she rebuilt her life. So motivating and encouraging. And I appreciated her rawness when we had our conversation. And I think we both ended up crying on cam. So I always appreciate Dee. My next couple was the dynamic duo of Backdoor Fun, Maestro Claudio and Michael Stefano. And I had a ball interviewing them because, first off, I think Maestro is hilarious as hell. He is so funny. his attitude and, positivity, and he's also damn sassy. He does not take any crap from anybody, and I love that. He has really pioneered the industry, in the niche that he's in, and I look up to him, and I once told him, when I'm ready to do a scene like that, I'm going to have to look you up. So I enjoyed interviewing them. That was super fun. Definitely check out their site, Perv City and DP Divas. They do great work over there. Amazing. My next guest this year was Gigi Dior, a fellow Chatterbait model, and she's an adult creator, pro porn creator. And I'm so proud of her. She really just kept her eyes on the prize and took her career to the top. I think this year seems like she was in a lot of high profile scenes. And so good for you, Gigi. That's amazing. I can't wait to see you continue to grow. The next guest, someone that I hold near and dear to my heart, Carrie Anthony, aka Platinum Pussy. I have known her literally, I believe, since my first couple months in this industry. And that was back in 2020. I became aware of her through Nikki Knight. Who doesn't know who Nikki Knight is? In a group that we were in for a website building. And Carrie, I just love her sassiness. I love her confidence. And I love her movement towards the BBW part of this industry. She is an icon. I mean, when I think of BBW and the adult, I definitely think of Carrie. She is motivating, positive, calls a spade, but also when things are going crappy, she's not afraid to call that out either. And so I enjoy every time I get to see Carrie, and I just love chatting with her. I mean, whether it's talking about life, the industry, or whatever. So definitely love her. My next guest was Beth McKenna, MILF at Law. Let me tell you, does she have a story? I found it so interesting how she lost her job as a lawyer because of the industry. She was discovered, but not only that she lost her job, but how she pivoted and actually saw it as a blessing. I mean, of course, all of us would be shocked at first, right? But she turned that around and really turned it into some positive stuff. I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to be able to shoot with her this year. And she is just an amazing, kind person. And I love being a friend with her. So definitely check out her content. Next up was Robin Schamberg, who is a therapist, really specializing in women, mature women who want to change their life. So maybe they're not happy in what they're doing. She really works with them to figure out, what avenue do you want to go to? She likes working with people in the adult industry and helping them navigate that and not feel guilty about embracing our mature bodies and just having fun with life. So, love talking to Robin. She's based out of New Jersey. So, if you're looking for a great therapist with some insight who was also a former dominatrix, check her out. Guest number 17, the iconic Sarah J. Oh my gosh. Again, if you look up the word MILF, probably going to see Sarah in there. She's been around for a long time. She has built an incredible business in the adult industry. And not only that, she's branched out to develop her own line of CBD products. And I believe that that was her focus this year. She kind of talked about that, building that business. And I'm excited to see it grow. She has great content. She has her own studio, Wideside. And she's just a fun person to chat with and so gorgeous. Guest number 18. You all know him as AZ Pornstar. You might see him on Twitter. He developed a course, very unique course, about how to be a male porn star. And why did he do that? He was tired of all these women saying, guys are always in my DM, hey, I want to make content. Hey, I want to film with you. When they literally have zero experience, they don't know what goes into it. And he kept hearing these stories and experiencing, what we go through. in our DMs. And there just is an etiquette, to reach out to a fellow model. And the first thing is you got to be a creator. And so he developed that course, and I'm excited to see people take that course and improve. Not only that, he talked to us about alternative lifestyles. He lives a poly lifestyle. We hear that's very much a buzzword, I think, this year. Poly, ENM, which is ethically non-monogamous. But he talked about his dynamic with his girlfriends, and that was really refreshing for me, and I loved hearing, how does that work? How do you balance all that plus a job? And so I really enjoyed having him on the show. And also check out howtobeamalepornstar.com, because you do not want to miss that if you're a male wanting to get into the industry. My guest number 19, I think, really was the guest where we provided information to the industry in a really transparent way. And Jamie Bell, who is the medical director for Pass Certified and also the medical director for the LA LGBTQ plus Center in West Hollywood. I not only had the pleasure to have him on my podcast, but I got to meet him in person, tour the clinic in LA. And as well, earlier this year, not many people know, I was invited to participate as a medical advisory board member. And so I have enjoyed getting to know him. What a kind, loving, open-minded person. We talked about MGen for the most part. I think that was most of our episode because it had just come out. We didn't know what MGen was. We're still discovering, how does MGen react to antibiotics? How does it get passed? I mean, just all kinds of things. How will it affect us? And so I feel like that episode was really profound in bringing in a medical expert. Let's talk about it. If we're not talking about it, we're not going to have knowledge of it. And so, amazing episode. I'm so thankful that we have Jamie in this industry, because you can literally ask him any question. In fact, when I was lucky enough to have dinner with him when I was in LA this year, I asked him so many questions, even coming from a bit of a medical background. You can't know everything. So, what a great resource. Guest number 20. Guest number 20 was special to me because I have a background in gender and sexuality, so I have a minor. And the first trans star or trans icon that really I discovered, through my studies was Buck Angel. And who doesn't know who Buck Angel is? And what an amazing guy. His story is incredible. He has overcome so many obstacles and, hurdles to be who he is, but also his advocacy, especially I became aware of it this year. His advocacy for kids, under 18 who are thinking about transitioning, and his deep dive into what those effects of transitioning early are. And he certainly informed me of information I had no idea about. So again, bringing information and just making it known, these kind of things, that's what my goal is on this podcast. I mean, I want to have fun. Let's have great creators, icons in the porn industry. I feel so lucky. But also, I want to bring information to the public. I want to be a resource for you guys. And then number 21, the lawyer to the adult industry, Corey Silverstein. Oh my goodness. Not only is he a spitfire himself, but the knowledge that he has to protect adult creators is beyond imaginable. He always seems to be on the forefront of any new laws or legislation or requirements. And so it was great to have him on. He does a lot of speaking at events on podcasts. And so he does this for no compensation. I mean, on he talks on all these shows for no compensation. And I think that's amazing that he's willing to freely provide that information. And I really commend him. He definitely is the go-to for any legal thing that you might be dealing with. Guest number 22 was Whatever Amy. Oh my gosh, I love chatting with her. She has such a great story about how she, started this. What did she start on Twitter? Yeah, Twitter, just making funny comments about riding the subway, from New Jersey to New York for work. And her observations, crazy observations, wild stuff that would happen. She grew a following like crazy. I think even she was surprised at how fast it grew. And then everyone kept asking, "Are you on OnlyFans? OnlyFans?" So she thought, well, I might as well be. And she's built this really fun life. Sh I think she's co-hosting a show in New York now and just doing all kinds of great things. I had so much fun chatting with her and just learning about how she navigates her life, through the adult that she really didn't go out to want to succeed in that, but it kind of just presented itself. And she has a great story. I love it. Number 23 guest was Eliza Ray. She's an amazing creator out of Arizona. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Worked as a makeup artist, was in the swing lifestyle, and, much like myself, just kind of transitioned into adult. She is gorgeous. Holy cow. Definitely check out Eliza. I had fun time chatting with her. She's so beautiful. Number 24 guest, back to providing medical information that you can use. I like bringing these medical experts in that can kind of help us understand things. And so number 24 was Taurus, who owns Empower in Atlanta, Georgia. And he is PATH certified and provides adult STI testing, meets all the requirements. And the beauty of it, I've been using him since I became aware of them. Oh gosh, when was that? Earlier this year. And the beauty of it is, with all the requirements like swabs, you get a kit mailed to you and you get to do those swabs at home. And then you make an appointment with whatever lab locally is contracted with Empower, and it makes it so easy. It really does make it a little bit more private, I feel like, because you can do that at home. But he runs a great nonprofit. The other benefit is you can use your insurance. If you are, privileged enough to have health insurance, he will accept your insurance. And so that's amazing. That will bring your testing costs down to a lot less. But great facility, great guy. And literally, he works for the good of the people. I mean, this is a man that he's not getting rich doing this. So great clinic. If you are in the industry, you should definitely check him out for your testing. Guest number 25, Samantha 38G. I think when you look up the term Spitfire in the dictionary, there's a picture of Samantha. She has been in the industry a very long time. She's seen it evolve, and she's very confident, which is refreshing. And she knows her stuff, and I love it. Currently she's a cam model. I think that she does OnlyFans and fan sites, but maybe one of the first BBW models in the industry. So you got to give her credit for that. I loved her. She was so fun. Really great. Guest number 26, Nissa Nevers, loyal fans ambassador. And wow, she is a BDSM dominatrix model. She, like I said, is loyal fans ambassador. She really knows what she's doing. She knew what she wanted from the industry from a young age. I think she got in very, very early and has really just developed her business around the BDSM community. Uh, she's at every event representing loyal fans. And yeah, watch out, OnlyFans. I think loyal fans coming for you. It's a great, great platform. And she's always so willing to help. I mean, you can message her directly and get help on your site, which is nice. Guest number 27. My one and only episode that's shadow banned or deleted. I had David Corey with Angry Pony Media. He's a photographer, professional photographer. Does boudoir, other artsy photography. Yeah. Apparently YouTube didn't like his link to his website, which is a photography website. So that was an interesting thing to navigate for me this year, was the censorship that we find here on YouTube. Certain words, certain links. I mean, as a side note, my own website, RubyLynne.com, is considered, sexual activity. So I'm not even allowed to put my own website link. So anyway, David was great. Just to hear he's in the publishing business. So he works with books, but photography is really his first love. And he does these amazing things. Very unique style of photography. I definitely think you should check him out. I've had the pleasure of shooting some content with him this year, and he is just fun. Like, I felt we could talk for hours. So I'm really glad I had a timer on for our episode, but definitely check him out. I'm really not sure if his episode is even visible on this channel anymore, but really awesome guy. Next up, number 28. One of the iconic adult creators, porn star, Ginger Lynn. It just doesn't get any better than that. Ginger, Christy. I'll talk about Julia Ann. I've had some amazing Jasmine. I'm very lucky to have these stars who really were the pioneers in this business. And I like listening to them and talking to them about how has this industry evolved for them. Hearing about what was different being in a studio on set versus majority of things are self-produced now and for fan sites. We still have some studios out there, a fair number, by the way, because I just recently started a spreadsheet. But to really hear what it was like back then versus now, and so many things have changed, STI testing and, different things or models and ways of doing things. We survived a pandemic, which shut everything down. So Ginger is great. She has forged a career in horror film, which I think is amazing. She just had a premiere recently for it, but she's so fun. I was so excited to chat with her. Next up, number 29. This woman has a following that is bar none. She has some diehard fans, and for a good reason. Ava Devine. Oh, Ava, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. She is so sweet. She engages with every single one of her fans. She loves her fans and they love her. And I would have to say that out of all of my live chats during a episode premiere, that Ava had the most fans chatting. It was wild. I could barely keep up in there. But they do love her, and I adore her now. I mean, oh my gosh, I can't wait to meet her in person at some point. But, she talks about her journey through the adult industry and some of the things that she faced and kind of overcame. But wow, what an amazing person. I love Ava. I think everybody loves Ava. I mean, she's just so kind. She has a great fan base. Number 30, Julia Ann, another iconic star. She is so funny. And all her animals made an appearance on our episode, which was fun. But I love hearing her stories, especially, when she literally physically got hurt on set, cut a tendon in her, in her heel or ankle. And she went on to film that scene. And so that's, really dedicated, but she has the most beautiful smile and it was so fun to chat with her. I think in our episode, we were kinda all over the place, and I like that sometimes, because I like how it just flows when I do an episode with somebody, and so I had a really good time with Julia. She was great. Following up, next episode after that, number 31, everybody knows Brittany Andrews, another person who I think we laughed so much through that episode. Not only laugh, about the stuff, but the stories Brittany has to tell. I love her transparency. She t- she talks about a pro film where she had a piece of toilet paper stuck somewhere, and that thing got distributed. And you know what? She owned it. She owned it. And God, I don't even know what I'd do if that happened to me. Like, I don't know. But with her personality and the way that she handles things, I don't think anybody thought anything of it. But she has a lot of great information. And the one thing that really sticks out with me about Brittany, she is a businesswoman. That woman runs a huge business. I mean, I think she said she has like 12 businesses and she has a full staff. Just amazing. I mean, really, that's what I aspire to. I want to have a great business, great fan base. So, Brittany, always beautiful, just always smiling. Happy to see you. Love Brittany so much. Number 32 was a unique guest I had on, Ella, who was formerly with Chatterbait. She is an event planner and a good one. And her episode really gave us an inside track to what it's like to work for a CAM platform, to plan these events and do that. And so that gave us, a lot of information about there's more to it than we see. And I think that's really important. Number 33, another icon, Tara Patrick, living in Italy currently, has a new career kind of as a chemist, and still does a little adult and travels, comes to the events in the US. And I was really fortunate. I got to meet her in Chicago earlier this year at Exotica. And I love chatting with her. Oh my gosh, she's brilliant. So smart. I just don't even know what to say. She is so awesome. And I look forward to seeing her hopefully again in 2024. And I wish her well. I know she had an accident here recently and still recovering. Number 33 was another photographer because, without photographers in this industry, we're really sunk, right? Buster Brown is a photographer out of New York. He took his family's business of like portrait photography, family photography, inherited that business from his father and made it his own and became really an event photographer. We're talking horror film events, adult events, gaming events, you name it. And he has met and photographed so many amazing stars, people. I can't say enough. He knows everyone. And he's fun. I love hanging out with him and just hearing about how the photography business has really evolved too, just in means of equipment. Everybody's doing their pictures on iPhones now. And why, how is that different from his huge cameras? So that's definitely a good listen to. Number 35, a great guy, Ivan with Altarotic Studios. Now, I have to admit, horror is not my cup of tea. You will not finding this girl watching a horror movie. However, horror porn, now here's a different take. Ivan, an immigrant, came to the US. He knew what he wanted to do, and he kept his eyes on the prize. And he really found his niche in producing these, alternative erotic, hence alt erotic studio films. And listening to how he does that just blew my mind. I was like, "Oh my gosh." And he's kind and funny. I love it when my guests make me laugh because hopefully they're making you laugh too. But what a neat guy. I can't wait to meet him in person. Number 36, fetish model Whitney Morgan. I also was fortunate to meet Whitney this year. And she literally has been doing this since she was before 18. She was in a burlesque. She has so much knowledge about how the fetish modeling has evolved, what she's done to evolve with it. I can't go on enough. I really enjoyed talking with her, chatting, and to know that she technically doesn't do porn. She just does fetish. And so how she's molded that business to be one of the top fetish models, I believe, in the world was really amazing. And last but not least, just released Jessie Sage. She was my final episode for 2023. And Jessie has an amazing story. University professor, deep in academia, tired of it, sick of it, wants a change. And how she transitioned, into full service adult work. She did some cam modeling, a little phone sex before that. But just the joy that she's finding doing full service, she is an inspiration to me. Not only as an amazing podcaster who had one of the top podcasts, but as a person, how she juggles having a family, doing that full service work, but also being an advocate. She's quite an activist for the sex work industry, sex workers in general. And I enjoyed having her on and her transparency, her frankness, talking about some of the challenges that she's went through. So amazing, amazing guest to end this podcast year with. But without you, the viewer, I don't have a podcast. I didn't know what the hell I was doing when I just knew that I wanted to produce something that would bring information, enjoyment, entertainment to the public. And I love to talk. I love to be on camera, but most of all, I love meeting my guests. I get so excited when I book a new guest. I keep running lists of people I want. And like I said, sometimes they say no, and that's okay too. But I really do enjoy it. I hope that you enjoy it.